I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Stuff and Waffle. Two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling with frequent reference to Bond cars.
I was saying the other day that after enjoying a bit of the old pneumonia there, that
you were all over that.
Yeah, I loved it. I hadn't obviously operated a vehicle, and the Volvo was dead on the driveway because no one had been in it.
You did mention it was bereft of life. Yes.
Yes. So, So now, having recuperated a little more, yes, I got to the point of whipping the battery out, sorting it out, getting it up and running again.
Mm-hmm.
Only to discover the electrical gremlin is back and is quite happily flattening the battery willy-nilly.
Okay.
So that's good.
Is it?
No.
No.
And just to add insult to injury, having sent the car in when the gearbox was being a prick.
You did have a bit of trouble there, didn't you?
I did.
Yes.
And everyone's advice was just do the fluid, see where you're at. So, well, I'm not doing the fluid. That's manky. So I palmed that one. Yeah, I palmed that off. I just pay for that. That's hideous. So yeah, that was done, and all's been well, and now it's bollocks again.
Okay.
So yeah, that's become an instant pain in the arse.
So the gearbox is not working properly any of the time.
No. So I'm back to rocking winter mode if I need to use the car, which I mean, all that basically does is doesn't use first or second gear, and it seems to be vaguely happy with that.
Okay,
but I mean, it's not a permanent solution, but it's also the fact that, well, in order to mend the gearbox, that is quite the expensive thing.
Yes.
But you've also got the other thing of going, well, you don't get another car at the moment because they're bloody expensive too.
Yes. It's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Yeah. And plus, you're not using it a massive amount.
I'm not using it a huge amount at all. No, I on Saturdays I use it heavily. But other days I don't.
During the week, because you work from home, it often doesn't move at all, does it?
No, I don't. I just don't use the car. I've just got no calls for it. I mean, I even very rarely visit customers these days. All of ours have embraced a bit of Zoom or Teams or whatever, and are happy to stick with it. Which is
I'm the same.
Fine.
Which is why I haven't rushed to replace my car, because I kind of don't need it, so I'm enjoying the savings of not having it at the moment.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, at the moment, I'm just winging it because it vaguely works, but I mean, how long for?
Well, like you say, it's going to get worse, isn't it, at some point?
That's it, and I just don't know. I'm unsure of what to throw at it in terms of funds.
Because your plan was to get it past 200,000.
Yes.
And then replace it possibly with something electric.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, especially the fact that it doesn't get used a huge amount. But I tell you what, just to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, with Kaylee now starting a new business, which is taking off really quite well.
Yeah,
we've now got the predicament of going, well, as the listener will recall, that she's got a Mini Cooper. But she does need to shift a lot of stock around.
It's not the best car for that.
No, I mean, yes, you can jam pack it, or when it's functioning, use a Volvo.
A Mini with the back seats down, actually, you get quite a lot in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ridiculous. It's just
it's not.
There are better ways of doing it.
There are.
So now we're at the point of going, well, I've said, when it was functioning fine, I just use Volvo. It's not an issue. But now it's being a pain in the arse.
Yeah, you don't want to send her off in that, do you?
I
Really?
don't really want to set. I mean, if it dies on the driveway, I don't care. I'll call it something horrible and deal with it a different day. But
Yes.
if it dies when she's in town, that instantly becomes a headache. Yeah,
Yes.
I've got cover, and we could get it all sorted. It's not the end of the world, but it is a pain in the ass at that specific moment in time.
It is, and she's going to be stuck somewhere for a while. That's
Yeah.
inevitable.
So yeah, I don't want.
Yeah.
So
No.
now we're at the point of going right. The big
Mm.
practical car that we've got is being a pain in the ass and not
It's
being
not working
reliable.
properly. Yes.
And I just go, well, like I said, I don't know how much money to part with because it isn't worth it a lot, that car. The
No, I mean,
tech-
obviously, I've looked at quite a lot of those recently
Mm.
because I was considering and still am considering it as a possibility for. I mean, not yours, but one just one very similar to
Yeah,
it,
one
as
with a functioning gearbox.
one that works. Yes, um, and yeah, I mean, they're not going for big money.
No,
No,
which
and
is fine, but it's there has to become a point where I go, I've got to decide on.
as much as you like it and as much as you want to keep it, there does come a point where it simply doesn't make sense.
That's it.
Um,
Because say I throw a set amount at it and it doesn't remedy the situation, you go, well,
this is the problem, isn't it? With cars like that of that age, you
hmm,
can do that very easily. You can think, right, this will fix it, and then it doesn't,
hmm.
and then what do you do? Because and the problem is, as long as it's got that problem, it's kind of not worth anything at all. Because who's going to buy it?
No, you get a couple £100, and that's about
Yeah,
it, really.
that's right. You're going to
Which
get almost scrap value for it.
so yeah,
Um,
that's why I've kind of taken the sort of stance at the moment, going, well, right, I'll rock around in that winter mode, assuming the battery is not dead as a dodo.
yeah,
Um,
yes,
so yeah, I'm at the point of going, well, I'm happy to use it. If I get stranded somewhere, I don't give a toss. I'm not.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I take that sort of thing in my stride, and it's not an
But
inconvenience.
you don't want Kaylee stuck somewhere.
Not at
Um,
all.
no,
Um, but then you go, well, yeah, I she likes her Mini and doesn't particularly want shot of it. Yeah, it needs a bit of
right?
titivating. It's in need of a few bits and bobs. Could do with some
Mm,
front brakes. It could do with a complete clutch and brake fluid change. They are ruined.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
and a fresh service wouldn't hurt. So yeah, it needs a bit of titivating, but
needs a bit, but they're good cars.
I just think that has the potential to sort of. I mean, it we bought it cheap, and it's never going to go any cheaper than that.
Yeah, indeed. It may even go up a bit because they are very sought after.
Yeah,
They're still popular.
they are. I was even reading in a recent Evo about how much they praised the really early Coopers.
Yes,
And I just think,
yes.
well, yeah, I just think, yeah, I would. I think it makes sense to
To hang on to that.
if that makes sense to hang on to it, and if you're going to spend a few quid on one of the cars we own, it might as well be that one because it's
Yeah.
technically in working order. It just needs a
Well, and it's
bit of maintenance.
potentially it's got more value in it, isn't it? It's a bit more special.
That's it.
Um,
And you go, well, but then you got the other predicament and going, well, uh, she needs to move a lot of stuff around.
yeah, then you come back to the argument that actually it's the wrong car.
Uh, while you can cram quite a lot in it, it's still not the optimum amount. And if you've crammed it in, it's not a pleasant journey.
No, it's
Um,
not. Well, I mean, I had one, and I know what they're like when they're full of stuff.
yeah,
Yes.
not ideal.
No.
So you go, well, what occurs here?
Oh, that's a tricky dilemma, isn't it?
Mm.
That's a tricky dilemma.
I mean, in the
Hmm.
short term, I'm just going to bury head in sand and wing it.
Yes, you're not
Well,
going to do anything. Yes.
but slightly longer term,
Hmm.
it's like,
We'd assumed the Volvo was just going to keep going in perpetuity, but um,
and I think it will in the short term. I don't think it's going to be a
yeah.
huge issue. The
But it
electrical
does
one could
change.
be an issue. That more, well, not an issue, an irritation.
Yes,
So yeah, I'm going to spend a little time diagnosing that one.
it changes things, though, doesn't it? Because with that gearbox fault, it then becomes not worthwhile to sell because anyone who finds that problem, like you said, it's going to be a couple of £100, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's it at most. It's going to be a fraction of what it would be worth without that problem.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think in the months to come, I'll just run it, but I'm going to try and diagnose myself what the electrical thing is that's causing the
If
drain, because there's
yeah,
a few tests you can do. You can do that parasitic drain test on it
yes.
to find out what's what. So yeah, I'm happy to do all those bits and bobs and just.
Those sort of faults can be such sods though, because you might never get to the bottom of it.
Might never, but it's not going to cost me anything to do it other than a bit of
No,
time. So
true.
that's
So you
fine.
might as well.
I'm
Yes.
happy to do that. I'm quite confident that I'm not going to throw any more money at a gearbox at the moment.
I don't think that would be a good idea.
So I'm not going to do that.
No,
But
at the moment. If it gets worse, and if it was to get worse and it become not drivable,
well, yeah,
I guess
that makes a decision for me at that point.
you'd
Really.
have to make that's kind of game over then, isn't it?
That's it. I do. At that point, you just advertise it and go, right, here's the problem with it. If someone thinks they can have a go, you're more than welcome.
And you just accept you're going to get nothing for it.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got no qualms about that. I think the interesting conversations that have cropped up indoors of going, well, right, want to retain a Mini,
Yes.
but if the Volvo does ultimately go, we still need something else.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
this is where we're at as well, of course.
Of going, well, Kaylee needs to shift stuff around, and if all 5 of us of the family need to go out,
yes,
we can't do that in a Mini.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Well, someone's got to go on the roof.
Yeah, so
that's not working. No.
Because Katie said, well, can I not just get a little van? I'm like, well, that's great, but are we still going to need another car as well at that point, because we can't just revert to the Mini?
No, it doesn't work for yes, a little van would be great for her for the business, but you can't. It still doesn't tick all the boxes, does it? What about a Mini Clubman?
I'm not driving that.
Okay.
Okay.
I just crossed my mind. That was all.
Yeah,
right.
I mean that's fine. Kaylee might accept it, but I will not.
Okay.
So yeah,
I suspected that would be the case, but I just wanted to
I don't
cover
mind
all the bases here.
I don't mind the Cooper. I don't drive it very often, but that's fine with me. But no, I don't want any Mini variants and all the nonsense that's come out since.
Okay.
No,
that's fine. I just
yeah. So
just checking. Okay,
there could be a predicament on the cards. Yeah,
there couldn't there? We might end up car shopping together.
I just and
get a discount if we buy a pair of Volvos.
I don't know how much I'm willing to part with either at the moment.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not being used very much. So you don't, it would be pointless you saying, right, I'm just going to go and get a lease or something and I'll have a Model 3. Because the cost you can't, even though that's got minimal running costs, the cost of a lease or something like that is just not worth it when it's not. That's got to be used every day.
That's it.
If you're doing that,
that's hundreds of pounds a month, and all it does is wait for me to go out on a Saturday when I've got to do my running around.
That's right. So that doesn't make sense at the moment.
No, that's pointless.
To be honest, I think you'd probably end up sort of where I've been looking, and sort of 1,500, £2,000 just to get you around.
Well, and I know it's become a podcast cliche, but they probably should just buy a Mark 1.
Mark 1 Focus. Yeah, that kind of, again, it does it all, doesn't it?
That's it.
It does it all. It really does. That's I mean, it's a cliche, but it's become a cliche because it's true. Yeah.
So I think that's
you probably
my
should.
fault.
Actually, you probably should.
If it
that
all
would
goes
do
to pot,
everything.
Yeah, I'd just buy that. I mean,
you could even get an estate.
Could do. Yeah, I just
it's that would, yeah. That's the
Mm,
answer, isn't it? Actually, that is the answer.
that is, but I just go, well, that's great for me, but I mean, does that tick all the boxes for Kaylee's work stuff? I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
it's more roomy than the Mini.
it's more roomy. If you got the estate, I think it does.
I don't know.
Back seats down in a Focus estate, you're
Hmm.
away. There's more space in that than some little vans.
Yeah, this is true. But I tell you what, as well, that it's part of me that, I mean, it's probably the selfish bit of the brain again. I've always had, I've always had to have sensible cars.
Yeah.
I've never had a choice in the matter. Ever since,
No.
because my first cars were company ones, they had to be
Yeah.
sensible as
Yes.
limited selection, and my ones, that bloody company, were always bloody hand me downs.
Yeah.
And then when it got to me having own cars, again, well, you got no choice but having the family wagon.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I just want something for me for once.
Where are we at with the
Oh, he's a pain in the ass.
there's nothing happened with that.
It just nothing happening. It's still sat there. It's not moved. And you can,
Regular listeners will know what we're talking about.
yeah, the Type R that is pissing distance from where I am now.
Yes.
And just look at it and go, you're not going to do anything with it.
And he clearly hasn't, presumably.
No, he hasn't done anything with it. But I think half the issue is that he's seen what really tidy ones go for and has got a figure in his head.
No.
Because I've seen some some that are like concourse.
Yeah.
And they're 12, 13 grand.
Ah.
But that is pristine. That is,
And his isn't.
no. But what I'm talking about, when I say pristine, it's kind of a fresh import from Japan. The underside of it is spotless. The paperwork is fastidious. And this one has got, the one that I saw, actually, this was the one that was that not only was advertised at that price, but got that sale price as well. It had a few spoon upgrades on it as well.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, some really nice Honda tuning stuff on there. So yeah, that really is top end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you've seen some of those prices.
That's
not.
a shame.
You're not there.
No. You're not.
And to get there, you'd have to throw a lot of money, and I don't think that car would ever get to that level because it's not got galactic miles on it, but he was using it as a daily, so it's got decent mileage on it.
It's got decent mileage on it. Yeah, well, you got to understand that, haven't you?
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that is as much as, I mean, I would want that car. I'd have that. That'd sort me right out. I'd be happy.
That would do, wouldn't it? Yeah.
That would butter many
But
parts.
it's not looking like it's going to be an option.
No, that's it. That's one of those ones where if I manage to get that, then yes, it would make sense to throw a bit of money at it to get it to a good standard.
Yes.
But
it doesn't sound like he's going to let it go. So.
So.
Oh well. Okay. Well, we're going to have a think about this, aren't we?
Yeah, we're all over the shop here.
Yeah. Much as I have been.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming you're no closer. I mean, mind you've not really had a need to get any closer.
Well, that's the thing. I haven't. Yes, I'd still like a car because I'm a car guy, and I do browse the classifieds as you do. I've been looking at S-types again, and I know that was the car you've always said I will end up buying, regardless of what else we may talk about.
Yeah, I stand by that.
You stand by that. But no, I've not done anything about it because I kind of don't need to. And at the moment, I'm enjoying saving the money that I'd be spending on having a car that didn't move very much. So
that's it. I mean, fortunately, I'm in the position of going, well, it doesn't. it sitting there doesn't really cost me anything other than
No,
tax.
no. Tax
That,
and insurance, yeah.
that's its thing, yeah. And being granddad, insurance isn't too bad anyway. So
There you go. They've
yeah,
got to know you.
yeah,
Yes.
that's it. It really comes into its own. Um,
We are in that period now where we have got the cheapest insurance we will ever have in our lives
yeah, that's it.
because it's going to go up again later on.
Yeah, as soon as we start getting decrepit and prone to driving into everything, yeah, it's all going to go wrong then.
It's going to start going wrong again. But at the moment, we're in that sweet spot where it's actually the insurance companies all like us and trust us, and it's all a decent price. Yes,
Yeah, so that's yeah, we'll revel in that for a while.
for a bit. Yeah,
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, you being a car person, you'd actually like a car. I mean, you're very
I'd
fortunate in
like
the
a
sense
car.
that you've got the
Yes,
car that's at your disposal is a good
I do have use of a car, and it's a very tasty one, and
one.
it does tick many boxes, but it's not the car I would have bought for myself.
No, no.
It's too small for me. I don't really fit in it for a start.
Yeah, I suppose that is a slight issue.
I could almost drive it from the back seat.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
good.
is.
Yeah.
And you still haven't seen it.
No,
But,
no, no.
no,
Why would I do that? Good
no.
heavens. Absolutely useless.
Right, we
So,
need to think about this and perhaps come back to it.
well,
This
that's
is
it.
this
Yeah.
is an important issue.
Well, it is, and I tell you what did come up. I know we I touched on it. We were talking about. Oh, Coach said, "Well, why don't you get a small van?" And I said, "Well, yeah, for work, fine, but
Yeah.
obviously at that point we're ultimately going to end up with 3 vehicles."
You then got 3, yes.
Yes, and one driveway with space for one car.
1 car, yes.
But then she immediately looked and went, well, there's a lot of shit boxes. And, well, yeah, they will be.
Mm.
But then immediately went on and found electric van leasing.
Ah, yes.
And
Interesting.
that's the way to do it. I think if
Yes.
there's a point where she needs a van, which may not be instantly, but in the not too distant future, that's the way to do it because
Yeah.
they're actually not very expensive on a month.
No, they're not. They're not. To lease an electric van with its minimal fuel costs and minimal servicing. Yeah, that's fine. She's only doing local journeys, presumably.
And that's it. Because it's just short journeys, buying a
Yeah.
clapped out little diesel van that's ancient, doing short journeys where the engine never warms up, it's just going to ruin it.
It's going to ruin it, and it's going to cost you a fortune in diesel because it's
That's
going to
it.
be running really bad. So
think-
a little electric van, pop it on the driveway, charge it overnight.
That's it.
And with what she's going to be using on a daily basis, you could charge that from a 3-pin plug.
Yeah, that's it. I think
You won't even have the expense of having a charger put in. I mean, you could, but you wouldn't have to.
Well, you see, on about that actually. We'll come back to fan in just a second because we're at the point of possibly having the work started on the house.
Yeah.
Which will actually involve quite a lot of electrical upheaval.
Uh-huh.
And we were talking about it and said, well, yeah, we don't have an electric car at the moment, but considering the amount of upheaval, shall we put in a charger now?
Put in a charger now because you're going to want one at some point. Yeah. That's not a bad shout, actually.
Because it's
that's
probably a good idea.
I would recommend looking at Zappy.
Zappy, yes. That's what you had. Well, you still have it, don't you? Just don't plug
no,
it.
we've got a Tesla one.
Oh, do you?
We bought it with the car, but because Zappy didn't exist when I bought my car. That's how quickly these things develop. But now I would absolutely have a Zappy. Because they've got really good software with them. You can get really good information from them, and further down the line they can be set up to work with other smart energy that might be happening in the house. So if you were to have solar or a heat pump or something like that further down the line, or a battery, you can configure it to work with those other things. So,
I'd like that.
Yes,
We've toyed with solar because there's a few people around here who've got it, and we've been speaking to them, and it is noticeable. So,
oh, it is. Well, as you know, we've got solar.
well, you've got it as well, yeah. So
and it absolutely is noticeable. Yeah.
So yeah, that's on the agenda, and we've said
it's quite an investment. You have to be sure that you're going to stay in that house for a while.
Well, that's the reason we're doing the work anyway, to stay put. So
quite. I mean, you thought about moving, didn't you, and ruled that out. So,
yeah, estate agents
for many reasons. Yes.
Well, there are various reasons, mainly
Let's
financial.
not go down that road.
You said little bellend.
And yes, exactly.
Yeah. But yes, no, staying put. So yeah, it would make sense to do it because
I think that's a very good idea. Yeah,
we'd like to lump it in with the work. That's a part of the electrical upheaval we were talking about. And again, you mentioned battery. We've just can't afford that in this particular hit. But
no, neither can we. We would have a battery now. Yeah, I mean, you're talking. I mean, there's huge delays on getting them at the moment as well.
Yeah.
But aside from that, you're you're talking thousands, not hundreds. For a battery.
Yeah, that's a problem. We've stretched our budget as far as we can, and yeah, it does.
But that can be added later, and the battery makes less sense if you're not generating your own electricity.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of it, obviously, is you generate your own electricity, you store it in the battery, and then you can use it at times when you can't generate, i.e., if it's solar at night.
Yeah.
If you're not generating your own electricity, the whole sort of reason for having the battery is a bit less clear.
So that's why we've left it till last.
It would take a lot longer to pay for itself.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you do it with solar, it makes absolute sense. And in fact, there are grants to be had now and tax breaks if you do a battery with solar. In fact, I think I'm right in saying you can now get the VAT wiped off completely.
Oh, bloody hell. We're going to have to rummage down the back of the sofa.
Have a look into that. But as I say, if you're not doing solar immediately, it makes less sense to have the battery anyway.
No, the solar would be with the work we're doing. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would.
But you can also add it later. You don't have to have it with it.
No, that's it. That's the thing. We're saying, well, if we can do the solar up front now, the battery can come a bit later. And having looked into the logistics of it, we said, well, if we're having all this building work done, creating extra space for ourselves, we were talking with our electrician about it, and he said those batteries, they're not insubstantial things. But
yes,
he also said, if we can we're intending to keep all the electrical services in one area. And he came up with a good idea of saying, well, he said, well, rather than you having all this building work done and creating lots of extra space for yourself, and then actually taking up some of the space with a battery and making your new room partly unusable. He said, he said, there's no reason you can't say, well, you've got a direct line vertically from all these services into your loft, which is basically empty. So there's no reason it can't go there.
Yes, it can. It could do.
Yeah. So he said that's not an issue, and he said there's no sort of increasing costs for him to do it like that.
The only because we had the option of putting because it's not just when you have solar, there's the inverter and the meter and all the control systems and all the cut-off switches they have to do, and there's a whole wall full of gubbins. So yes, there's quite a lot of stuff, even without a battery, to find room for. So loft is quite good because you don't really need to get at it because you can get all the data off it remotely.
Yeah.
So I mean, our inverter connects to our Wi-Fi, so ours isn't in the loft. But I forget why we didn't do that now. There was a really good reason at the time.
That's all right then.
Ours is in the utility room,
Okay.
which is also not a bad place for it, but it does take up. I mean, it is like half a wall of stuff.
That's
Um,
that's the thing, isn't
so,
it?
and of course, you need the feed from the roof into it. So if it's in the loft, it hasn't got as far to go anyway. Whereas
No, that
we got a cable all the way down one side of the house.
yeah. See, that's the thing we're thinking because he said you got solar on the roof anyway. You got feeding. You got a battery there, and he said you've then got a direct line down to all of your other electrics as well.
Yes.
So he said it'd be all in the same place. Because he said
Absolutely,
you'd
yeah.
have all of your circuit breakers directly beneath all of the gubbins that are in the loft. So it's like, it's just all go.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Keep it all there out the way, and you're still accessible if you do need to get at it.
Yeah.
Obviously, don't put the car charger in the loft.
You're going to need quite the cable for that.
You're going to need that a bit closer. But I would, if it was me, I would buying another one now. But I would have a Zappy. I think they're really, really good. So check that out. It's your kind of device. For that you're talking hundreds, not thousands.
Yeah, you see, that's exactly what we're thinking because you're going right. If you're going for this upheaval, chuck it in now.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though, as you say, you have no use for it, but you may have a use for it sooner than you think.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, we can come back to that and go. Like you said, it's exactly short journeys.
Yeah,
in and around town.
It's perfect.
And you go, well, some of the leasing was a couple £100.
Yeah. For an all electric van. Yeah.
For an all electric van with plenty of room. And like you say, I mean, the range on them isn't colossal, but Kaylee would be doing, I don't know, 10 miles a day.
Yeah, exactly. So even if it only does 100 miles, and a lot of them will do more than that now.
That means you could plug it in once a week at home.
Yes, that's
you
right.
You could have it overnight once a week.
Could.
From a decent
and if you connect, if you're ours is connected to our ring main, so it's 7 kilowatts. So if they do that for you, that would charge it. That'll replace 10 miles in 2 or 3 hours.
So that's it. Yeah.
So when it's plugged in overnight, who cares how long it takes? I mean, it's going to be parked for at least 8 hours, probably more.
Probably more because you think,
who cares how long it takes?
There'd be a couple of days where she wouldn't use it anyway. So you plug it in on one of those days.
Yeah.
Get home, plug it in, and it's job done. That's a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it would probably be the 7 or 11 kilowatts, but probably off your ring main 7 kilowatts. So
7, that seems to be what research.
Ours is 7 kilowatts running off the ring main, which is about the best you'll do in an ordinary house. And that'll stick. I mean, when I plug the Tesla into that, it would, bear in mind the Tesla would charge a bit faster than probably a little van would, although the technology's all moved on, so it's hard to say. But you'd easily replace what she would use in a day while it's parked overnight. Easily.
Yeah. But interestingly, some of the ones she was looking at, there's quite a lot of offering from France, as you'd imagine.
There are, yes, indeed.
And I know that, I mean, we talk about some exotic things on this podcast, but here we go. The Peugeot e-Partner.
Yes. Yeah.
Getting rave reviews. And basically they said if you eke it out and you get glorious mileage, it's about 170 mile range.
Well, you see, that's loads. That's loads. She might even get away with only charging that once every 2 weeks.
And you think that that's actually quite a big van, really.
It's quite a big van, and it's it's virtually, because there's no road tax. The energy, if you are generating it from your own solar, is, so she's driving on completely free fuel. It's the servicing is it's brakes and tires.
Yep.
and even brakes don't get used because you've got regen.
Yeah.
So the cost of running that will be so small.
No, and that's it. And that's why you think, well, you look at it and go, well, you got a 3-year lease on it, and you go, well, that's, like I said, a couple of £100
Yeah,
a
and
month.
that is its biggest cost.
Yeah.
Is the lease, is having it is the biggest cost. The rest of it is minuscule or nothing.
Mm.
No, that makes absolute sense. Don't buy a diesel van. That would be insane.
Mm.
It's good. Yeah, lease
Well,
an electric. Absolutely.
yeah, because what does that work out at? And you go, well, the diesel vans have been, I don't know, depending on what sort of turd you're looking at.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah, you spend your couple of grand on it, and you think, well, that's 10 months of an electric lease,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
and you go, how much are you going to spend on diesel in those 10 months?
Yes. So for the same money,
Mm.
you could have a brand new van that doesn't stink.
Yeah, this is true because yeah, if you buy something like that, if you go, well, that again, yeah, I mean, yeah, the e partner, but if you get one of the old ones, the diesel partner or the Citroen Berlingos or anything like that, they're all gonna smell like some sort of farmyard inside.
It's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely horrible. Whereas if you lease a brand new electric, yeah, she's gonna be away in that.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes right here, right now, that makes absolute sense.
As much as I like research online, um, I tell you what, it's been hard work looking at electric vans.
Yes, it's not the most fascinating area of the market, is it?
It's really not because if we do go down this route, I don't want Kaylee to end up with a shit one.
No, no, no.
Um, if you know if it's going to be a full eco business, I want it to be an half decent van. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
as much as we take the piss out of French cars, everyone just said that these just work. They're fine.
yeah, that is the thing, isn't it? And they are sort of cornering the market in it because van, there's not really any competition in the van area yet.
No, and you think, well, they go, oh, well, the tech's not brilliant, the range isn't great. You go, well, yeah, but who's doing other? I
But
mean, if you're
it's
not a delivery driver,
yes,
your van isn't doing galactic miles, really.
no, it's not. If you are looking at a little van for local journeys, it doesn't matter that the tech isn't brilliant or the tech's a bit last generation. I mean, like you said, that one you were looking at 170 miles range.
Which is great.
Well, is good. That's way more than she would ever need.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. I think that is it's more than she'd ever need, and I just think it's the way to go, isn't it?
It is the way to go. It makes perfect sense now. Yeah, it would be ludicrous to get an old diesel at this point. It will cost more.
That's the
Um,
problem. That's the
yeah,
thing. Again,
it will cost
all
more.
right.
You think, oh, a brand new van, surely that's just an extravagance, but actually, it really isn't.
It,
With lease pricing, like you say, is so low.
yeah, I just think it's the only way to go. If we do need to get to the point where get her a van and go right, let's buy her one of those. Well,
Yeah,
not a lease of one of those.
lease one of those, and of course, it'll have a warranty. It'll probably come with some sort of breakdown cover. Um, and she's going to be away, and it will cost nothing to run, especially if you've got the solar.
That's it, and it's going to have all the daft toys inside. So you get in, you
Yeah,
link up to your phone. It's going to be
yeah, she'll have CarPlay or Android Auto. It'll have sat nav, and it'll all be there. Yeah,
mm.
absolutely.
So right.
And yeah,
So we dealt
that.
with that.
Mm,
So should it be a van, it's going to be at least one and job done.
yep.
However, that still doesn't solve my issue.
No,
Um,
no, you're in the same position as me in that you most of the time you don't need a car. But I'm assuming, like me, you want a car.
yeah, I mean, it's not utterly drastic. Mine is still functioning at the moment.
Yes, it is. I think limp it along for now and see what happens. See if you can fix the electrical gremlins. But if that gearbox goes, then yeah, I can't see that it's going to be worth fixing, unfortunately.
No, that's the thing again. It's just not. I mean, the only thing that we could possibly do of going, well, if it does absolutely crap itself gearbox wise, is go, right, let's source a second hand one and try and get enough people to give us a hand to change it without spending money on labour.
Yeah, you could do that. You could do that and limp it along a bit longer.
Yeah.
Try and get it across the magic 200,000. You could do that. Depends what else is going on, doesn't it? And where things are at.
Yeah, but I mean, as we touched on as well, again, well, it could be a nice excuse to get something that's fun for me.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
A last hurrah before electric arrives.
You say last hurrah. I've not had a hurrah.
No, all right, not a last hurrah. Have a hurrah.
Yes, please.
Yes. Yeah. It's your first and last. Yes.
Well, not last, but last in internal combustion. Hurrah! There we go.
Last in internal combustion. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, you get yourself that used Model S. I mean, you'll be away.
Oh yeah, I'll be all over that. Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably enough of that for this week. Check us out on all the various social medias and things. Thank you very much for listening.